what is the theme or the objective of this panel? This panel is set to explore how integrated management of land, agriculture, and blue economy resources can strengthen food systems resilience and improve nutrition and livelihoods across the IGAD region. And I just would like to begin with Dr. Sylvia. Dr. Sylvia, I would like to begin with asking you how climate change is reshaping food production and access in the IGAD region, and how is the Food Systems Resilience Program addressing these challenges?
Thank you again for this opportunity. I'll start by making a context. So IGAD region is operating in an area where there's massive food insecurity. At the moment, this year's data gives us about 42% food insecure people. We have about 8 million nutritious and safe children who are struggling, deaths due to stunting, and we also have high rates of displacement at about 22%. So why climate change is important in IGAD's or Africa's agriculture is the fact that we are still relying on rain-fed agriculture or natural agriculture with very minimal use of technology. So you realize you're relying on sun drying, we are still doing flood irrigation and very minimal use of technology, which means any small change in temperature, change in rainfall, loss of rainfall, it means massive impact. So that's a major problem. We are over-dependent on our natural resources, while other areas are already doing controlled environments, glass house technologies and things like that. So that makes us really over-dependent on nature, which is a challenge. Low industrialization is another problem. So instead of processing our products, we are eating them raw. We are depending on the local markets, fresh produce without looking at how we're able to process and store, add value. So that makes us highly, really sensitive to climate change, because then if we don't have reserves, then as long as there is no rainfall tomorrow, then we don't have food. 1 minute there's high rainfall, excess production, another minute, or even regionally, even within the region, there's disappropriate impact of the climate change. So one area is having high produce, another area is having no food. So that becomes a major challenge because our borders are not very clear. We are supposed to trade clearly across ourselves, but we are not. So that's a major, major challenge in the IGAD region. And also, the general impact of climate change. If the local farmers or our region depends highly on agriculture, which is currently at 70% average, it means we are not processing these products, or we need to shift to industrialization. So that means our incomes are largely dependent on farming. And that's really a challenge, and that's a characteristic of poor nations. So that's a major, major issue, and therefore it becomes very climate sensitive. So that means if there are floods, I can go to the farm, I have no income, I have no food. A really big challenge. So with that, some of the things we need to do, we need to promote sustainable, climate smart, and nutrient sensitive agricultural systems within IGAD region. That we will be able to tackle both nutrition, and food security at the same time. So we need to promote technology, post-harvest technology that is able to ensure that, there are ways in which we keep this food safe even as we process it. So those are some of the things the region needs to take, because technology uptake is still quite low. And even technology development itself is a major challenge. We invest very little in our agriculture. With the push for 10%, we are still at around 1%, 2%, and 0.something%. So that makes the region highly sensitive to agriculture. Other issues on what the region needs to do is to look at anticipatory action rather than wait to react to information. ICPAC yesterday was saying how they have been working hard to really give predictions and early warning. But what are we doing with this information? So we need to act fast and create anticipatory action, like having safety nets that are productive safety nets. This is where, like, for example, if we are dealing with the high level, you have seen the refugees and the returnees are very many. We still need to feed them because they are part of the population. So the governments should consider using productive zones and industrial zones where they're able to employ and absorb these people very fast, and they have food and they have income at the same time. So livelihoods approach to safety nets is one of those anticipatory actions that would be very critical. And then policies and critical issues on evidence-based data sharing. The aspect of tracking what we do, where our money goes, and our programs and the impact is, for me, very critical, because if we do not leverage this it's an information age, and any decision, whether you're deciding to apply fertilizer on your field as a farmer, or even as a policy maker creating a new policy, let's say on seeds, or seed systems, or trade and markets, then the aspect of data and right data is very, very critical. And that's where the role of media later on will come, that the cost of wrong data is really an issue in our region, and therefore we need to look at that critical. Some technologies, like just using trade monitors, have already been invented, and we can apply that to have policy monitors, our water system monitors, and so that will help to improve our economy. And just building on issues of sustainability, relying on leveraging on the circular economy. Rebuild, reuse, recycle. We keep repeating, we need to rebuild our systems. Our lands are degraded, our soils, we have lost our soils and very infertile. So how do we reuse, recycle our nutrients just within the farm? That is affordable to the farmer, so that they are not over-relying on the imports of fertilizers, but they're able to use the localized materials from the trees, the leaves, the leftover kitchen waste, and recycles them to be able to improve nutrition on farm. So that would help to sustain the environment beyond. So what IGAD is doing through the Food Systems Resilience Program, although there are also other programs, we are trying to work on looking at areas on productivity. How can we increase in productivity? One way by leveraging on technology to control agricultural information. So one is called Digital Agricultural Advisory Services. So this platform will enable us to give live information to the farmer. They're able to decide if the climate has changed, if predictions from ICPAC are saying we are not going to have our rainfall coming late. So which seed then would I pick at this time, that has low water use efficiency, rather than grow the same variety that is traditionally done? So that would be very critical. Another thing the Food Systems Resilience IGAD is doing, we are working to change the trade value chain or improve them, so analyzing what are the challenges within our trade markets and leveraging on some existing opportunities, removing the tariff, working towards helping our countries reduce the tariff and non-tariff barriers so that member states are able to really trade across each other. So this is important. Then trade infrastructure should be built. How do we ensure that at the trade markets, at our markets, we have sufficient water, safety of our food is ensured, there is storage of our products? If we look at a layman point of view, if you picture your markets today, half of the food you see it on the ground, especially our vegetables, we step on them. So we are still losing 30 to 40% of our produce. So again, as FSRP, we are looking at how can we help our countries to train, have capacity, and be able to create structures that would really restore our sanity in our markets and therefore improve imports, exports rather than over-reliance on imports. And also we are working a lot on policies, several policies on food security and nutrition, policies on post-harvest food losses, etc. And finally, we have one major intervention that is called the Soil Hub. So we are using a multi-approach system, bundling of technology, bundling of fundings to be able to ensure that we have multi-dimensional approach. So the Soil Hub, for example, is an approach that is pushing towards healthy soils for the region. Remember, soil is one of the highest that is impacted by climate change. When temperature rise, we have increased evaporation, and then we lose our soil moisture, we lose our biodiversity. So we need to continually find ways of sustaining this soil, not just for us, and like the topic says, to feed the future generation, even as the population is changing. So I think I'll pause there for now. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Dr. Sylvia, thank you very much. Just to wrap up what Dr. Sylvia has shared us, of course, she just began with the challenges. There is high dependency on nature for agricultural produces or inputs, adding no value to agricultural productivity, which means most of the time in many African countries, of course, most of the producers are not added value. As a result, their prices in the international market gets very low. And on the other hand, again, those countries that import, our food, they value add, and then, just they bring it back to us. They export it back to us, and then for that we need to pay a lot of money. And this has to stop, of course. And IGAD countries are, especially in the case of Dr. Sylvia, some interventions have been made to stop this, to avoid this, at least to mitigate this. And she suggested, of course, smart agriculture, promote technology, and of course, the intervention of the government in this case should be to create industrial zones for people who rely on, for example, people with very low income. So these people don't have jobs, and they just are supported by the government just to keep body and soul together, and this has to stop, and rather their livelihood has to improve. This has been mentioned by Dr. Sylvia, and then the other one is monitoring the use of water, land, and soil. We don't do this monitoring most of the time, and so we don't know very much about the soil fertility, the soil sustainability, etc. And this has to be examined scientifically by people. Dr. Sylvia herself need to come in and then use their scientific knowledge and skill to determine the value of the soil. So the government needs to work with them, with experts, with knowledgeable people. And producing locally made fertilizer to sustain productivity. This is also very important. When we import fertilizers from other countries, we pay a lot again. So this is, one of the strategies to minimize importing from other countries and rather utilizing our own resources available to us, around us, with low cost, and that is a very good thing. The other one is, of course, she mentioned that digital agricultural services for farmers, real-time climate prediction. These are also very important things that IGAD member countries need to give attention to. Of course, analyzing trade markets, reduce tariff to agricultural products, especially when this trade, takes place amongst these IGAD member countries. The tariff should be compromised by the government, and the government, even though it might not be as advantageous, it supports these nations, the people. For example, in the previous panel, cross-border communication, cross-border trade, and the policies of the governments were mentioned to be, one challenge. And if IGAD member states, deal with this situation, especially in any trade that happens, along the borders of the countries, then the communities will benefit a lot. And I think, Dr. Sylvia is meant by this. She said that doing this will help the people, the population in these IGAD member states to benefit, the farmers especially. Create a structure for markets, minimize imports, food losses. Food loss is also one big problem because we use very traditional methods to collect food items or produces, and as a result, we lose a big portion of what we have produced. And we need, I think, to adapt technology, better methods to collect our food products. And finally, it is suggested by Dr. Sylvia that multi-dimensional approaches to maintain soil moisture and fertility should be done so that we'll be able to feed the future generation. Okay. Second, I just go to Evelyn. Dr. Evelyn, I would like to ask you, what innovative and climate-smart agricultural solutions are helping communities build adaptive, productive, and sustainable food systems?
Thank you very much. To start this dialogue, I think as I look at the room, not many of us were there in the 70s and in the 60s. Some of us are fortunate to have been there in the 70s. In the 70s, life was very predictable, especially learning and agriculture. We knew in January, we start a new year, and when we start a new year, the rains will come, the farmers will prepare their land, plant the crops. We will go to school, come April, schools close, we are part of the farm, we do the weeding, first weeding, second weeding, and if need be, apply some fertilizer, but the organic ones, the manures that we were making on the farms. We go back to school, come August, time to harvest, time to store the produce, and enjoy the holiday. December, we knew was all about feasting and waiting for another year to come. Our parents clearly knew it will rain every 15th of the month. We will have some rain, little for 1 day, 2 or 3 days. They knew the long rains will come and they will plant. They knew the seasons when it will be dry. Our farmers, our parents, they knew issues of drought, issues of floods were like history. They would come once every 10 years. Life was very predictable. However, in the late 80s, early 90s, there came a change. And those who remember, we had something called El Nino. Too much rain took a very long time. Crops were destroyed. Those that were there was a total crop failure. Animals were washed away. A lot of them died. Come again, another period, we experienced a very long drought season unexpectedly because we knew these things come after every 10 years. Then we didn't know that was climate change. And when the phenomena came, it was very difficult to let people know there's something called climate change. And we had to get a way of getting this information to the people who do production. And we realized the only way of getting the people understand what this is, using the terms of the floods, using the terms of the drought, then they'll understand actually times have changed. We are no longer having our bumper harvests the way we used to do because the soils have either been degraded, the water is not enough, or is too much. It is on this note that in Kenya as a country, we have had to come up with interventions. Interventions that our farmers can come to put in place to ensure that irrespective of these changes, the farmers are able to have food on the table. The farmers are able to have enough for storage, and they also have enough that they can also take to the market as surplus. In Kenya, one of the game changers, as my colleague has talked about, is irrigation. We relied so much on the rain-fed agriculture, which is not giving us much. We are now putting a lot of mechanisms in place to ensure the different technologies in irrigation, as opposed to just the flood irrigation, are getting to the communities. In the ASALs, we are encouraging a lot of the drip irrigation, where they are using the nets to either get an area where you can get a water source and use it sufficiently to irrigate your produce. In the places that flood, we also have technologies on how they can raise the land and ensure when the water comes, it either sinks below the crops. Another game changer that we are getting to our farmers is teaching them the crops we used to grow. The maize that used to take 7 months to mature can no longer be sustained because the patterns keep changing and you cannot predict when the crop you've planted will be ready for harvest. Farmers are now adopting the drought-tolerant crops. The tolerant crops that take shorter period. We have maize varieties, which is our staple crop. Then now grow varieties that can take 3 to 4 months to maturity. They're getting into production of the sorghums, the millet, the pigeon peas, and the ndengu to help sustain our communities. Another game changer our government is taking up is the issue of insurance. Farmers are investing in our degraded soils, putting in a lot of inputs, the certified seeds, the fertilizers at very high costs. We are providing a safety net, whereas they purchase these items, they also register for insurance. Currently, because of awareness creation, the government is subsidizing the insurance package. They pay a certain amount and the government pays. And they're trained on what to look at to ensure that when something happens and they don't harvest, they have all that is required for them to be given back what they would have harvested from the farmers, from their farms. Basically, we have many other technologies. We have where they're planting trees that are friendly to the environment together with the crops, and more so encouraging the fruit trees that are on top of providing cover. They're also providing fruits for the family. They're also being taught on how to take care of the soil before applying the fertilizers to ensure that they take the soil for testing to get to understand what the soil actually needs to help them increase production. I think I want to stop at that to let us continue with the deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Evelyn. Dr. Evelyn has shared us, a lot of important things in relation to improving soil fertility, enhancing food productivity, etc. Of course, what she stressed is the fact that these days, 21st century is quite different from the one we used to be in. In the 1970s, in the 1980s, in the 1990s, agricultural practices were uniform. Most of these phenomena like rainfall, soil productivity, soil fertility, they used to be very much predictable, but these days, especially because of climate change, we are observing changes that impact our lives negatively or that complicate our lives, especially if they are not dealt with properly. So the government of Kenya has been doing a lot of work in this regard, mainly introducing proper technology in order to enhance productivity of farmers, and of course supporting the farmers so that in case they are in difficult situations to produce enough food, the government has intervened to support them so that they can stand on food. So the use of technology has been emphasized. The use of better approaches with regard to what we do with the soil, with the land, etc., has been emphasized by Dr. Evelyn. And of course, the use of technology, new approaches are emphasized by Dr. Evelyn. Thank you very much. My next panelist is, of course, Dr. Addis, and I would like to ask you this. How can improved land governance, tenure security, and sustainable land management contribute to greater food and nutrition security in the IGAD region? Dr. Addis.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Addis Teshome. I work for the IGAD Land Governance Unit. Just before I go into how the land governance issues are related to building climate resilience and ensuring food security in the region, I think it's important to note that the contribution of land in all our discourse when we deal about climate change. We have been listening to discussions and interventions, recommendations on how we can manage or we can mitigate and adapt to climate change and what are the priority investment areas that the different stakeholders should take in order to ensure that. But I think what we also need to recognize is all these investment options, recommendations, they are all based on land. Whatever decisions we are making, it is related to land. So that's why our heads of states and governments, they have endorsed the AU Declaration on Land Issues and Challenges back in 2009 to ensure that member states have the capacity to come up with comprehensive national land policies that guides the use management and utilization of the land as a main resource for their economy. So effective land governance that includes the rules, the practices, the processes, and also the legal frameworks in order to control, in order to use, in order to guide the available land resources in a specific member state. It's really important in guiding our intervention when it comes to sustainable development, food security, and building climate resilience. We say that whoever's control land, it controls power, and also he can control the political economy of land. So it has a broader implication rather than land. And most importantly, when you come to African culture, land is not a mere resource, but land is a culture, land is identity, and land is all that we can rely on when it comes to our survival. So for us as an African society, land has a bigger implication than a mere resource. So if we acknowledge that land has all these implications, how is effective land governance relates to building climate resilience and also ensuring food security in the region? We can mention two important pillars when it comes to those topics. The first one is effective land governance ensures tenure security. And security of tenures is not about having title deeds, but it is talking about the bundle of rights. It's about having the access, having the use, having the control, and all the benefits that comes with it. So why should having a secure title deed or a secured land tenure is so important for communities, for us, for individuals as a whole? The first thing is having a secure land tenure encourages people to invest more in a long-term land management and land production activities. The more you have a secure tenure, the more you are encouraged to invest in it in the long term. If you don't have a secure tenure, then you cannot make proper investments, long-term investments in your land. If you are not making long-term investments, proper investments in your land, that means with the changing climate, you are more vulnerable to more dangers, more climate impacts. But the more you have secure title, you have the opportunity to invest. The second one is the secure land tenure. It also encourages investment, not only from a farmer perspective, but in terms of encouraging economic development in a specific area. And having a secure tenure, it also reduces vulnerability. It also builds resilience, because you can use your title, you can use your secure tenure to have access to loans, to have access to financial services. So the first important relationship between having an efficient land governance system in building climate resilience is it ensures the presence of secure tenure for communities. But securing tenure is not an easy thing in the IGAD region, because we have a very different tenure systems in the region. We have a private tenure system, we have a public tenure system, we have a statutory tenure or the customary tenure, we have religious tenure. So having all these tenure systems, which is also influenced by our colonial history, it's not an easy target to achieve. As you all know, the Malabo Declaration or our CADAP has the tenure security as one of the indicators. But if you look into the detailed reports of member states on their progress on their biannual reports, we still lag behind a lot when it comes to ensuring tenure security for our citizens. The second relationship between effective land governance and climate resilience is effective land governance ensures proper land use and management practices. So all these investments, all these recommendations we are talking about, having irrigation schemes, having dams, having all these infrastructures that are used for building climate resilience should be well planned, should be also taking into consideration the future risk of the environment on our land. Because if you don't have that proper land use and management plans, then that means we are going back into circles, because whatever investments we do, rather than helping us build our resilience, it will also expose us to more danger to climates. For example, when you look at the construction of dams, and then the risk related to it, like the presence of floods, then we need to have that proper land use plans in our investment portfolios. Another important issue is the issue of restoration, the issue of building large-scale agricultural investments. All this should be related to the issue of securing tenure and at the same time the issue of proper land use. What we are currently experiencing in the IGAD region is the issue of rapid urbanization, particularly in the arid and semi-arid areas. And the problem with the urbanization, as much as we are promoting sedentarization of our pastoral communities as a way of fighting climate change, but if we don't manage this urbanization in a proper plan with all the services for proper urban dwellers, then we are going to create another issue that affects, that impacts our communities in those areas. So as we talk about land governance and climate change, an effective land governance ensures tenure security that help communities to build resilience. It also helps us to have a proper land use and management plans. At the same time, it helps us in order to reducing conflict over land and its resources in the region, which is very common nowadays. I will stop that there. Thanks so much.
Well, Dr. Addis, thank you very much for your well-informed explanation regarding tenure security and sustainable management, its contribution for mitigating climate change, etc. Well, just to give you some highlights on what Dr. Addis has said, when we don't have effective tenure security systems, then people will not be able to come over and invest, for example. So farmers are able to use their lands properly when there is law, when there is a system that really tells them this land is theirs. So they will be encouraged to invest, their everything, their money, their social aspect, etc. Because land for Africans is their identity. It means everything for people, of course, especially in the Horn of Africa. So most of the time in the Horn of Africa, people fight, for land. They kill one another, and it has been, a big issue for quite too long, and it's not a new thing that we hear, these kinds of incidents. And investors, for example, they want to come and invest, but they need to make sure that that land does not have any issue. When it is, of course, secured for them for quite too long, they will be able to invest. And of course, investing a lot in the long term will help us, of course, mitigate climate change, and it will allow us to be resilient for the changes that are ahead of us, because these days we can see that the panelists have also said that climate change is always, coming with more power to change, what's around us. So maybe this year, 2025, 2026, the impact of climate change will be worse, is worse than it was last year, and it is likely to be, worse in the next year, etc. So the world is expected to be ready with technology, with proper management schemes to deal with the change of climate change, its impact, especially in mitigating that, and then to make use of our resource, which is land. So management of the land is a very important thing, and for this, the government, the communities, the farmers, and everyone need to work together. I think this is what Dr. Addis has said. Dr. Shete, I'm just coming to you. Well, my question is, what role can fisheries and the broader blue economy play in complementing agriculture, improving nutrition, and creating resilient livelihoods? Well, it has to do with water bodies in general. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, colleagues. Now I'm going to take you from the land to the water. What happens on the land has also impact on the water bodies. Our region is blessed with abundant resource. 5 of our member states have coastal line. 3 of them are land linked, that they have huge resource, the inland water resource. All this resource has huge amount of blue food inside it. Only Somalia has more than 3,300 coastline. And imagine the productivity that this region has in terms of aquatic foods. When we say aquatic foods, when we say blue foods, it's not only fish. It is shellfish. It is also algae, very high protein content algae, like spirulina. And it's a very huge potential. Unfortunately, people think IGAD is dry land, and they don't think about blue food. Even in the food system we design, it's about agricultural food system. Blue food system is almost forgotten. With this huge potential, we say 42 million people are food insecure, but there is an alternative livelihood, alternative food source from there. Okay, the region is more pastoralist, but it doesn't mean that you eat what you produce. For example, if we develop very well the fish from Somalia, Ethiopia with 130 million people, there is a huge market. The fish coming to this hotel is not from the region. It is imported outside. For example, salmon from Norway. The same holds true. So the sector, with, for example, during drought, when livestock will die, fish will not die. It is inside the water. It can be used to really escape the critical shortage that we face during drought. The ocean is there, the lakes are there, the waters are there, even if there is drought. The agriculture will fail, but the blue food will not fail. And the other advantage of this blue food is it is the highest nutrient density. It has high quality protein. It has omega-3 fatty acid. It will not only combat malnutrition, rather it also reduces the risk of non-communicable disease. If we really, during the time of drought, if we really incorporate the fish into some sort of wheat and others, it will enrich the nutritional quality. Stunting is a big challenge in our region. It's because of this issue. You know, when you are stunted, your thinking capacity is low, and it's a big loss for the country. Because you stop thinking when you are stunted. So we need to use this resource. So why this less attention is given, IGAD identified, okay, now we should not only approach only fish. We follow blue economy approach. Blue economy means the different sectors, the fisheries, the maritime, ports, energy from the water bodies. For example, hydroelectric power is blue economy. You generate, the economy generated from the water, to simplify it. So as IGAD, we developed 5-year blue economy strategy, since it is a new approach to really create awareness on utilizing the blue food and other sectors. Because it is one water that you have the fish, it is one water that you are doing transport. It is so we need to approach it from multi-purpose aspect. With that, we are successful in a sense that our member states understand approaching multi-sectoral. For example, Somalia and Kenya established Ministry of Blue Economy. The other member states have Blue Economy Coordination Office. For example, for Ethiopia, it's Maritime Authority who has the coordination role in terms of blue economy. What we need to do is to create, again, awareness. This huge blue food is there. It can help even in terms of carbon footprint, better, less carbon than on the land. Iqbal presented earlier. The livestock contribute a lot, but the aqua food, they have less carbon mitigation. So with all these things, we need to also understand climate is affecting the fish breeding ground, climate is affecting coral reef. So we need to also look at climate smart aquaculture, where we can do desert aquaculture, dryland aquaculture. Thank you. Back to you.
Dr. Shetty, thank you very much. Aquaculture or food from the water bodies has not been given the attention it really deserves. Most of the time we talk about agricultural products that we have from the land, and of course IGAD member states, maybe in most of African countries, we rely more on the producers that we have from the land. But in this case, a new insight is really emerging, which is, to look into the resources in the water bodies, which is a very important thing, especially the protein content from these water sources, fish, for example, different varieties of algae. All these provide us with what we need, especially in the fight of stunting, which is a very common phenomenon in many IGAD member states. So new approaches need to be, of course, on the floor, so that we'll be able to make the profit, or to make the benefit from these water resources, has been mentioned by, well explained by Dr. Shetty. And thank you very much for that. And then I just would like to present a very general question for each of the panelists. And again, I just would like to begin with Dr. Sylvia. It's all about, of course, gender, the discourse of gender here, in ensuring that we mitigate this kind of the impacts of climate change. And so women and men need to work together in order to be successful in this endeavor. So, Dr. Sylvia, my question is, how can women's leadership and participation across agricultural value chains, land governance, and the blue economy help drive inclusive and climate-resilient food systems in the IGAD region?
Thank you again. A very exciting topic. I would start by saying that when we are addressing gender, we need to be wholesome most of the times, to have both men and women, so that it is sustainable, yeah? The gender approaches and minimizing of conflicts, which is a major challenge also in our region, gender-based conflicts, which are sometimes accelerated by our own very good intentional interventions. To support or promote gender, we need to have women at the heart of technology development. Now, one of the realities when the climate changes, the people who get the highest impact are the women. One, the heat. If temperature increases by 1 degree, that as has been happening in the past few years, the impact on health, we have increased stillbirths. We have the same women that are supposed to use their time to take the water for producing crop. They have to use more time to look for where to fetch this water. So that means the time to take care of the family, the time to work, productive work that would build the economy, is reduced. And that, yeah, okay. So, yeah, that becomes a major challenge. So, women should be brought at the center of technology development. For instance, if we are creating a new seed, it would be prudent that at the time of trials, variety trials, when we do selection, there's normally a point at which there is farmer selection and testing, on-farm testing, the use of women to be able to see. This would help in taste and preferences, because we have a lot of good seed, good technology, and which are very good, but the taste, the color, is not appealing, and therefore you find that uptake is very low. And the women understand the family, the children, and all that. So using them during technology development would really assist and help in really ensuring that they are part of climate change mitigation and adaptation. I think I would also, one more, because of time, just include women in policy development so that it's all-inclusive, bottom-up approach, so that by the time we are domesticating these policies, gender is included. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Evelyn, briefly tell us your response on this, on the same question. Brief, please try to make it brief. As brief
Thank
as
you very
possible.
much.
Thank you.
As my colleague has said, women carry the biggest burden. It is the women who do most of the agricultural labor work, and they need the education. They do not have the education. For women to get this education, the task is an uphill one. Number one, we have opinion leaders in our communities who believe women should not go for trainings. They should just stay at home and take care of the children and provide farm labor. Sensitizing our opinion leaders on why women need to be trained on climate smart agriculture will really bring the women up in the list of what they want to do as pertains climate smart agriculture, what is affordable to them, and what is also friendly for their use. We all know when we organize for these trainings on climate smart agriculture, we call for residential trainings, which for women is not a very easy thing to do because they have children to take care of, and the livelihood in the home also depends on their presence in the home. We request that trainings be done within their localities to enable their active participation. Women also, once they learn these technologies, they will need skills on entrepreneurship and negotiations with the financial institutions. We all know most of our financiers would like to have collateral, mainly the title deeds, which women do not have access to use to get loans. Negotiations with the financiers to allow other forms of collateral will be a good thing to help our women access loans to get involved in the climate smart agriculture. I would have given more, but because of time, I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Addis, I come to you.
Okay, thank you again, moderator. I think most of the issues have been said by my colleagues. But from my side, I think what we need to do to enhance the role of gender in climate resilience is the first one should be recognizing the gender differences when it comes to climate adaptation, and also when it comes to coping mechanisms for the different gender groups. As my colleagues mentioned, we did a gender power gap analysis in pastoral and agro-pastoral areas when it comes to climate resilience and climate adaptation. And we found out that women are more vulnerable to climate change, and their coping mechanisms is also different from men. So understanding, building the knowledge base on this, the gender differences in climate change should be one of the areas that we need to focus. The second one is about strengthening the leadership capacity of women in climate change adaptation initiatives. We basically, in most projects, we register the number of women that are involved in any initiative, meetings, trainings. But when we go deep into the issues, It's not about the presence, but it's about the participation and the representation of women. So a genuine representation, a genuine participation is really required in order to ensure climate adaptation initiatives are addressing women. And the third and final action point I can mention is the issue of ensuring access to productive resources to men and women. And by access to productive resources, we mean it's about land, it's about financial, it's about skills, and also it's about information. So if we can manage to act on those critical issues, I think we can reduce the gap that exists between men and women when it comes to climate change adaptation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Addis. Finally, Dr. Shete.
We just conducted gender analysis in blue economy. We identified the gaps. For example, in the fisheries sector alone, 80% of the labor force is women. And 50% of the value chain is dominated by women. Despite that, access to finance, decision-making on resource management, they are not there in blue economy sector. So all what was mentioned by my colleague predecessors, it's not unique for the blue economy sector. It implies the same.
Thank you, Dr. Shete. Well, I would like to extend my gratitude to the panelists. Due to time constraint, I'm not able to offer you a chance from the audience to extend possible questions from you, and I apologize, I need to wrap it right here, and thank you, the panelists, all of you, for your wonderful explanations.